Welcome back to Knattering with the Knights. Today I'm excited to sit down and talk to Colin Lyall, and a little bit of insider information. He is my auntie's brother. He's completed 250 kilometres of running across the Sahara Desert in 2007. He's also raised £500,000 for a UK-based charity called Small Steps, completing 5 running events in 5 years with his friends from the construction industry who call themselves the Sandblasters. In 2013, Colin suffered a stroke, which has resulted in him having aphasia. For those listeners who aren't aware, aphasia is a condition that takes away your ability to communicate. It can affect your ability to speak, write, and understand language, both verbal and written. Colin is the founder of the Aphasia Charity. He started this charity as another aphasia charity ceased to exist. Since founding the charity, it has given him purpose and goals to achieve. This is a story of determination and positivity, that any obstacle can be overcome with the support of friends and family. Firstly, welcome to Colin. It's a pleasure to speak to you and have you on the podcast.
Hello. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Do you want me to start and talk about my my desert run?
I would definitely love that, please. Thank you. I'm excited to hear all about it.
Okay. Before that, obviously, I had a stroke and I have aphasia. My particular been very lucky that I can have a conversation. But just so you know, some of the words takes time sometimes. Sometimes my speech is very good, and then the next day it'll be completely not very good. So hopefully today it'll be very, very good. So yeah, we're talking about the desert run, and I always still talk about this, even though the first one was about must be about 15 years ago,
Wow.
I reckon. I was well. The reason why when I first started it, I was talking about my own. We had a
It's okay. It's okay. Take
See,
your
my
time.
brain is not very good today.
No, don't worry.
But we will get it. So yeah, I used to be a mechanical and electrical engineer, and I was part of the company. It was the company was in London, and it's for it's consultants to and specification to do big buildings. And obviously we used to do loads of projects, and also we had to go to clients and do lunches and all that sort of stuff. One particular lunch, there was 4 people, and we were just talking about life. And this was when I was about 45. And I was very, very stressed. Going to my house to London. It was to 6 o'clock in the morning to go to London.
Wow.
And then about 6, and then 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock to go back. And I was never get any sort of exercise. And I was talking about the company. And I was just getting. I just thought, I need to do something, and not just go to a gym because it wasn't very good for me. And we went to this this particular lunch, and we were talking about what do we need to do to exercise. And one of the guys said, what I do is I do desert runs. Do you fancy doing it together? And of course, we thought that'd be easy. A glass of wine, and thought, yeah, there will. I'm sure all we need to do is a bit fitter, and that's it. We obviously didn't realise what's going to happen. And the guy who's done it before he tries to tell them what we're trying to do, but actually trying to doing it is not easy. So what we decided to do, one of the four people, one of his sons was quite young. He was cerebral palsy.
Okay.
And it's a very a little charity that they have in London. People who are 0 to 5 years old of cerebral palsy, they can't go. They haven't got a school or anything like that, and it's not easy with the family. So this particular small step charity we thought would be a very good to do. So rather than going to some desert run and doing it, we decided to do for a charity as well. So it was good.
Amazing.
And so we had to. So we trained. So when I was saying that I was always very busy and stressed and all that sort of stuff, I also had to train as well. And we sometimes we do a running together. We'll do a track in London somewhere about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the evening for an hour to do lots of tracking and tracing to do it. And then obviously in the weekend, I used to sort of train as well. And we started to do it. It was probably about 6 months to get to do the first one. Right. And so I started start running, and then I started doing half marathons or 10K, and then I started to doing some marathons as well. Just to get fit. Yeah. But we realised that it's not just going to be the physical, to train. The mind is going to be different as well. And the person who's done it before, he did try to tell him what it was going to do. This is what's going to happen. But you don't know until you're actually there. And so this is what we do. So for the first thing that we did for 6 months was training and getting the right and kind of that's decided that we're going to do. Okay. So it's good.
So that is, quite a big shift. Like you said, you were, experienced quite a lot of stress at work. You had a lot going on. There was minimal time to really exercise until this challenge, this idea came along, and you decided to get involved with running the 250k across the desert. Now, like you just touched on there, you said it wasn't just about the body, it was also going to be about the mind. If you wouldn't mind, do you mind kind of talking us through like how did you mentally and physically prepare? I know you said you were doing training runs, but when you're out there in the desert, I mean, how does that how do you keep going? How do you keep yourself motivated to keep working towards that goal of completing such a huge distance?
Yeah. Well, I'll how the company that we had. There was. It wasn't like going to a desert and just running for 250 kilometers. It was two different companies that we did. One of them was Marathon des Sables. Okay. And the other one is Racing the Planet. Okay. Marathon des Sables is a company. It's a France and American company, and when they do the Marathon des Sables, there could be 1,000 people doing the run.
Wow.
The smaller company, Racing the Planet, there was only 150 to 200 people.
Right. Okay.
So that was kind of very, very, very different. Racing the Planet, actually, they're in a Hong Kong, UK company,
Wow.
and the company, the office is in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And all of the people who run it, I had a look at the website the other day, and they've still got all of the people who run it. They're still
Wow.
there.
Excellent.
And I'm sure one day I'd like to have a chat, but they probably won't remember for us. But what we did, it means that when, and I think they're very, very similar in terms of, for example, everybody's decided sorry, start again.
It's okay.
The Marathon des Sables is always in Morocco.
Okay.
So it's always the same race. Racing the Planet has 4 different desert runs, and then also every year there'll be a different venue.
Yeah.
Different. So it's and so what we did before we actually went there, we had a rucksack. But we had to have lots of mandatory equipment that we had to do for the company, plus all the things that we have to do. We'd like to have as well.
Yeah.
And so the first run that we did was China, near Afghanistan.
Near Kazakhstan.
Yeah. That was the first. So that was the first desert run that we did.
Okay.
For Racing the Planet.
Right.
And one of the this is how it works for the company. They do the tent.
Yeah.
And they do the water.
Right.
Water. But and that's it. And so for the one in China, and they're all very, very similar. What they do, it'll be about a marathon every day.
Wow.
And every day the company do the tents. And then when we start running again, they pack it up, and the next day there'll be new lead the tent, and we have to run it.
Yeah.
And so that means that we have to have our own for our rucksack. We have sleeping bags. We have to have head torch in case it's
night.
If it's going to dark.
Yeah.
I have to have compass, whistle, knife. You have to have anti venom pump for snakes.
Wow.
You have to have ECG for the company, for your doctor, to make sure that you are not going to be you're in terms you're going to be
your heart's going to be okay.
Just making sure that you're and then you have to have your own food.
Okay.
And it'll be like high energy serving with very, very so basically one of these things where it's just
Is it like a
it's
gel?
like a little meal, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just put some food in, and
Yeah.
then you got your meal.
Right.
And it's normally about 800 calories
Wow.
for your food. So we had to have, and then also we had to making sure that you need to, obviously you'll have your food, but you'll have your food when you're finished after your marathon. So you need to have energy bars, gels, snacks, electrolytes. Is it electrolytes?
Yeah,
So
electrolytes.
it's
Yeah.
not just water, but
Yeah.
electrolytes as well. So there's all of this that we had with
Wow.
the rucksack. So when you're talking about not just having a marathon,
Yeah.
in the normal sense, it'll be a marathon plus
A load.
the rucksack as well. So
Yeah.
that's when we were kind of that's what we were doing it.
Yeah.
And then so when we first started, the first in China, it's called the Gobi Desert.
Okay.
Was that they liked. We started running, and we realised like the first day, for about an hour, everybody we can't see them.
Right.
There was probably 150 people. Some people are very fast.
Yeah.
For the first day, they might doing it for it'll be about 4 hours.
Wow.
To do it. Some people will be slow, walking a lot. So after an hour, all of the 150 people that we've gone. You can't see.
Right.
We can't see them. And what was quite interesting was that the terrain was very, very different as well.
Right.
When we first started, we realised we were about in terms of what's that word? It was about it wasn't 50 degrees, but it's probably about 40 degrees.
Okay.
Heat.
Yeah.
And of course, when we're training, we're training just like normal. But when you're doing that with the rucksack plus the temperature, we realised that this is not going to be easy.
Yes.
And then obviously most marathons are flat. We didn't realise that obviously we need to do some hills and stuff like that. But in China, the hills was massive. And then it could be with rocks.
Right.
It could be sand dunes.
Wow.
And all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So the people who are very, very fit, it'll be 4 hours, and they've done the next they've got the checkpoint. For hours, it was probably about 10 hours to get to the next tent.
Yeah.
And you got the hot. You realise that the water is. We've only got. Everybody's got like a water bottle.
Yeah.
We've got about 2 or 3 water bottles with your rucksack. And what they also did every 10 kilometers, there'll be a little checkpoint.
Right.
And with the checkpoint has volunteers and doctors,
right.
Making sure that it's going to be okay, because a lot of people couldn't cope, or the electrolyte was too much or too little.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Racing the Planet, they've got about 2 or 3 people who died.
Wow.
So it's you know, you need to
It's a
be
hard
very
challenge.
careful.
Yeah.
And so we went into the checkpoint. You can get the water bottles, get some more water, which is good.
Yeah.
And then carry on. And when the first day, when we went to the tent,
Yeah.
it was kind of, we realised that it was going to be brutal.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when you're doing the first desert run, they've done the first day and they just think, I'm just not going to do it because it's too complicated.
Yeah.
We were very lucky because we had 4 people
Okay.
doing it together. We could, you know, if we're getting low,
Mm-hmm.
and just thinking, you know, I'm just, you know, I'm just not going to do
Yeah.
it. Then you can. So when you're running, you're hot, sweaty,
Mm-hmm.
thinking, what am I doing? So it's not just getting fit, the
Yeah.
mental side,
Mm-hmm.
when you're really, really down,
Yeah.
to pick up with, and to get anybody to say, look, let's do just have a rest.
Mm-hmm.
Do get some of your food bars.
Yeah.
You know, do just rest for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever. And then talk about, I don't know, talk about life, talk about
Yeah.
family, friends, desert runs we've done before, and
Mm-hmm.
have, you know, be running with people, and then just think about getting your brain thinking that, of course I can do
Yeah.
this. It's gonna be fine because there's so many people who've done it before.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, very drooling. How's that word?
Get grueling.
Grueling.
Yeah.
That's a good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's very, I mean, and very interesting. And I've got probably a million more questions I could ask about, but great that I didn't even know that there were companies that kind of organize these kind of events to run across the desert. I actually honestly did just think it was maybe a group of friends that had just decided to have a crazy adventure together and get through it. But knowing that you've got that structure of tents, and you've got checkpoints, and you've got doctors, and you've got water sources to keep an eye on you, that's fantastic. But also, I didn't even think about what you said there about having to carry your own food and your sleeping bag, because that changes it entirely. I mean, I think people that
absolutely.
run marathons are so inspirational anyway, but running a marathon with extra weight is so impressive.
Yeah. We the first one, Gobi Desert in China. We the last day, and of course, one of the things that we didn't do, and you might do into the next desert runs.
Okay.
Just some of the little bits and pieces. For example, when you go to going to the tent again, and relax and get your food and all that sort of stuff, and you know you're completely knackered, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
And they still seem to get their food and stuff like that. Yeah. And then you get your shoes and socks, and when you do this, your feet swells,
right,
and then you have a look, and the blisters is just terrible. And your fatigue and all that sort of stuff, and then the feet is got sort of swelling because it's been running so long, and you realise that the next day you're going to have to get your shoes and socks and shoes
Yeah.
on again.
Okay.
And so one of the things, all of the other little things that you have to have with your rucksacks, is when you've got blisters, to making sure you've got the right. So you've got some good. I can't remember what it's called, but there's just things that we can that they can blisters for your feet to make so you can still run.
Yeah.
So all the little bits and pieces, and then you've got it all ready, and you start running, and you're thinking about the blisters, and it's so painful. But then you start running, and then you kind of you don't think about the blisters. You're thinking about something else. Have you got the right Diola right, or have I got my water? Have I got in terms of where are we going? Because all you have is a little flag every mile to make sure. So it's all the little details is good. But what it was the last day, and we were so excited for our 4 people. The achievement that we were doing this was just amazing. All the little details that I'm talking about. We had the last. All we have is the last checkpoint, and then we've only got about. It's about 250 kilometers. We're about 20 miles to finish. And we're talking about we're going to go to London. We're going to go to a restaurant. We're going to see the family or your wife and all that sort of stuff, and just thought about what we're going to do when we get back home. How we're going to it's going to be just so elated. And we're sort of walking, running. And what happens is we went to the last checkpoint, and I had shin splints.
Oh no!
Very, very bad.
Yeah.
And I was sitting down, and I thought, I'm trying to stand up.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just so sore, so sore. I've never had shin splints before. It's just, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it. I don't think I can do it. And they tried to give me a lift. What's it called?
A fireman's lift.
Piggyback. There's lots of ways to. There must be a way that we can all do it together. But they tried, but they didn't. And I'll tell you what, these the people, these are kind of normal, very nice, sort of strict sort of people. And they were tearful, they were crying because I couldn't go. And when you think what you've been doing this week, we've done all of the hills and the climbing and all the food and all that sort of stuff. We've done it, and they were just very, very sad that I couldn't go, and I had to stay, and I had to have the doctor and say, look, I have to go. I can't go. They have a little truck to get back home. So the 4 people, there's only going to be 3 people to do it. Because I couldn't, there's just no way that I could do it. So yeah, it was. So it wasn't very good. So when you're thinking about if anybody was thinking to do a desert run. I think you need to get the right. Make sure you got your. I think all the things that you need to do, but you're never really going to be able to do it until you do it, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know whether your blisters was just too much.
Yeah.
Or you just couldn't do it. A lot of people did. They didn't like. You've got the tent.
Yeah.
You've got the tent. All you've got is the tent.
Mm-hmm.
There's no there's no kind of
like
I'll give
luxuries
it a
around.
word in a minute. There's no there's no little buildings
Yeah.
for a toilet.
Right.
The toilet is just there'll be, I think the one in, because we're the first company, there's only 150 people. But all they did is a little shack, like a little tent, only two of them.
Right.
So it's all the little details. Going to the toilet.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm not going to do all the bits and pieces, but just all the little things that they're thinking they're going to just do a marathon and a desert run, but all the little details. A lot of people just say, do you know what, I'm going to quit because I just can't cope in terms of all the bits and pieces that I did. And for us, for me, for the first one, was my shin splint, and it was gutted that I just couldn't finish it.
I mean, I can completely sympathise with you, because I've suffered with shin splints, but not in obviously the form of trying to complete a marathon over a desert. So I can understand that the pain that you probably were experiencing, and the fact that it must have been really hard to kind of be so close to the end of completing that challenge, but also probably taking a little bit of pride to be able to see how far you got with a group of people that were so motivated. Well, we're kind of going to take a little jump now, and as we mentioned in the beginning, in 2013 you suffered with a stroke at the age of 50. Is that correct?
I was 50, yeah.
So just, I'm not sure how many of our listeners, of our students may be aware. Do you mind talking through us what actually happened in terms of your stroke and kind of what a stroke is?
Yes. So I had a stroke, must be 8 years ago. When I was in the hospital, my words was yes and no and swear words.
Okay.
The intelligence was intact, but I couldn't get the words right.
Okay.
The first week I was sleeping quite a lot.
Right.
And in the second week, I decided I just want to go home. And then so that this 2 weeks in the hospital, I didn't, my little brain, I didn't realise I had a stroke.
Right.
I was still thinking about the company, and I was thinking I can't get my words right. And I'm still thinking that I'm sure another month and I'm going to be back to normal. And the hospital, they said, look, you need to go to a different hospital. There's one in Brighton, and then there's another hospital in Haywards Heath, and it'd be much better to go to Haywards Heath and practice to get your words right.
Right.
And I just, even though I couldn't get the words right, it was all like lots of, no, I'm not going to do that, or yes, I can do that, or no, I'm not going to do that. And I said, look, no, I just want to go home. I just couldn't work out what's going on, but I just want to go home. So I was very lucky. Went back home, and I had a speech and language therapy in my house every 2 days. for about 4 months, and for one-to-one for me and a speech therapy to practice to get my words. It was draining. So I was very, very tired, very fatigued, sleeping a lot. So it's but again, you know, I was happy. I was okay. I think that a lot of people, a lot of stroke people, the mind, the different ways that they can't cope or might be lonely. You know, for me, I was really very lucky, I think, with my family, that even though I couldn't get the words, I was just, I was happy and okay. So I had the speech therapist for about 4 months, and I had another speech therapist in the NHS office. And I had another speech therapist every week for about another 4 or 5 months. So it was practicing different words, different techniques, and yeah, it's it took a long time to work out why I can't do it, and it was things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, easy peasy. When I first started for my speech therapist, she said he'll say right, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I just couldn't do it at all. And my it's just a very, very complicated brain that we have. And I think so. In turn, you're talking about what about the different sort of strokes. It's quite interesting in terms of the left and the right brain. Mine is the right, the left brain, and the right side in terms of weak. Or some people are paralyzed. But so the left brain, mine is weak, so I'm okay. It looks like I'm normal, but I can't sort of can't feel it. A lot of people I know have half paralyzed, but also they can't speak as well. The right side and the left brain, they can speak. Reading and writing and speaking is okay. Obviously, there is one. They have some people are half paralyzed or a wheelchair or something like that. So I think there are a couple of people that we might know who are TV programs who had the stroke and they can back to work even though they got half paralyzed. They can still talk and they can back to work. So yeah, it's a very so I had 2 different speech therapy, and it took I reckon probably about a year to realise what's going on with my brain. And it took about a year to realise that I have aphasia. And actually, it's in what I have aphasia and apraxia as well. Apraxia is a different way that we can't say. And so after the speech therapist, they said, look, it's finished now. You just need to practice and practice and practice. And they said one of the things that you could do for the NHS, we can be befriending for other people that have a stroke. And you can go to people's houses and just talk for an hour. It'd be good for you to practice to get your words right. And there'll be other people who have a stroke. They might be a little bit older. They can't get out. They can't get a bus. They can't get. They don't have. They might be lonely. And I could. And you've got 2 people who have had a stroke, and talk about their particular injuries.
Right.
So that was quite good for me to practice, and now I just still practice quite a lot.
Yeah, that's
so
yeah, that's considering, what we were talking about prior, and you're in this construction industry, you're a busy man. You decide to then, with a group of friends, take on these running challenges, marathons, desert running, and then to experience this stroke that's taken away, or like has made you have to relearn to speak and understand language. How did that affect kind of your position at work and like your everyday life? Because, language and communication is such a key part. Like, that must have been a real challenge to get that back.
Yeah. After about a year, what I used to do was befriending a bit, but also I went to the office for about 4 or 5 months because I thought there'd be some way that I could do things for the job. So I used to go to London, and just going to London was a challenge for me. How do we get a ticket in the tube? How do I do a train ticket? How do I actually sit there with a train? I was the first time it was like a commuter train. There's a lot of people, and I had to sit down, and there was my own water to get some water bucket. So what's it called? Like everybody has water.
Yeah.
Everybody has water. The coordination and the vision in terms of near and far.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure whether, if I'm going to drink, is everybody going to think that they're going to be so close?
Yeah.
That the drink is going to be too. So just the whole kind of coordination was different.
Yeah.
And then I used to go to the office and say hello. Of course, I wouldn't be able to, I couldn't do the whole sentence. But they were very lovely to see that I was going to say hello.
Yeah.
But I think most people knew that I was not going to be doing this job ever again. But for me, I was sort of thinking, well, look, I'm going to start doing once a week, and then I'm going to be twice a week, and then 3 times, and then 6 months I'll be sort of normal again. Again, I was a bit very. My brain was kind of thinking that I was going to be, I was going to be a normal one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't. I tried to do some bits and pieces, but it just wasn't working.
Okay.
But it was just good to work out how it works. To have to go to London. What do I, how do I do it?
Yeah.
But it wasn't happening.
Okay.
So it was. It was a shame, but one of the things, my speech was getting better and better and better, but my particular brain, I still couldn't read and couldn't write.
Okay.
And I still can't read and I can't write. But yeah, I think part of it, because of my language, reading and writing skills, it's just no way that I could do anything for the job. So that's why I decided to do my own charity. Yeah.
So just linking off what you said there in terms of you're still struggling with reading and writing. Now, obviously, we've communicated with each other prior to doing this podcast, and just kind of out of interest, and maybe also the fact that I'm still trying to understand this type of stroke and how aphasia works, really, is how have you then developed ways to kind of work alongside your aphasia and deal with it? Because obviously running your own charity now, there are things that you would have to to read and write, I'm assuming that, do you have support with that, or is there programs on a computer that assist you with being able to do that? Just very curious, really, in how you've done that.
Well, there's lots of different techniques. Obviously, about 3 years ago, I decided to do my own charity, say Aphasia. Now, I did it myself. I had to have a chat with the Charity Commission in the UK to do a charity. I had to do all of the papers to write about my charity. What I've been very lucky, one of the things the app that I had is voice recognition for my iPhone or my iPad. If I didn't have voice recognition, I wouldn't have been able to do the charity. And there's lots of things that I do I wouldn't have been able to do. So just get it all ready to do the charity. It took about 6 months to organising it, and I was very lucky. One of the Charity Commission had a chat with me and said, "Look, I realise that you've got aphasia. Some of your words is not quite right. If you can just do it different ways, different words." And then do it again. Then you will be able to do your own. You'll be able to do your charity. It's very, very lucky. So I did that, and then for 4 or 5 years, or about 2 or 3 years, I know now. I now know there's a lot of people that have aphasia. Before the lockdown, we had 10 drop-in groups in the UK.
Wow.
And most of the drop-in groups, there'll be about 20 to 30 people that have aphasia.
Wow.
And everybody, if I reckon I've got roughly people I know, at least about 150 people that have aphasia, and they are all very, 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 very different. And so what I've been doing, I do lots of Google and have a look at what sort of apps that we can do. And so now I've got about 4 or 5 apps for in my iPad. So when we go to a drop-in group and there'll be a new person, they can't communicate, they can't get the words out at all. They might have had a stroke quite recently. They're still having speech therapists, but they want to have some tools to communicate. So there's lots of apps that I do. So it can, it might be a little, it might be a video. Or it might be say like I would like to have a cup of tea. There'll be a video with the mouth,
right?
So that they can with the mirror to see what's your mouth is reacting in terms of the words. So lots of little sort of details that I do now to practice. And I think when we go to the drop-in group, there's no sort of agenda. Have a nice cup of tea. We don't have lots of volunteers. So a lot of people want to be part of it. A lot of people might be still have they're half paralysed. They're doing a cup of tea, just one hand. And then just talk about life. And it might be a person had a stroke quite recently. They might be talking about holidays. They might talk about the family or your friends. And I always say, look, there's no agenda, but just and you might be a bit not afraid, a bit wary. but just be practice and get the words right. And there will be, you will. I'm not going to say you'll get better, but just be practice, be positive.
There'll definitely be improvement.
Yeah.
Well, that's
that's
and
and
incredible.
the age, I've probably got 25 to 90 in terms of age. Most people that I know are probably 40 to 50 to 60 years old. They're very a lot of people now. Lifestyle, they're quite young.
Wow.
So
technology is
very different.
Sorry, technology is a huge impact then on helping you communicate and helping those new members kind of feel settled and getting to kind of communicate again slowly but surely. And I like that you used the phrase there of like, it might not get, you're not going to get better, but there's definitely practice is going to help you get there slowly but surely. I'm also, I can't believe, the numbers that you're saying of the people that have aphasia and the age range that it affects. So that's definitely opened my eyes and understanding a little bit further with aphasia. Now, I have noticed behind you on the wall, there's a lovely big poster about marathons. And it was one of the pictures you sent through to us for this podcast was a picture of you doing the Brighton Marathon again for Say Aphasia. So you have you made, has running been something that's helped you with your aphasia? Has it been something that you wanted to get back into because it obviously was always a hobby of yours? Has that been affected at all, or is it again just something that helps you kind of relax or kind of take a bit of time for yourself?
I think two things in terms of doing things that we can that I used to do. So after my stroke, I was quite fit. And so I thought doing a marathon would be good. And I decided to do the Stroke Association charity. And so I did the marathon probably about it must have been about a year after my stroke. I did the marathon, and then I did the half marathon 2 or 3 times after my stroke. So I was still quite fit, even though my my weakness, my arms and legs, I could still run, and I thought it was a very good, quite therapeutic, to forget about all the symptoms that we can't, we can't get words out, but running, and it's good. I reckon I probably did it for 2, 3 years, 4 years until I started to do the charity.
Right.
And then when I started to do the charity, every day I was going to the different drop-in groups and all that sort of stuff. And so I was getting, I wasn't getting fit anymore. And then now, after the lockdown, we weren't doing the drop-in groups. I thought, right, great, I'm going to do running again. And I realised for doing this for 2 or 3 years, not really running very well. I just thought it was going to be easy peasy, but obviously because I'm getting a bit older and I didn't quite my fitness is not very good. It's not easy to be back to normal in terms of running. So I'm trying to run, but lots of injuries and stuff like that. But I did lots of things after my stroke. I did some, and so it was one of the Stroke Association. Then I did a couple of did it for my own charity as well, for the half marathon as well. And now every year in Brighton we do the half marathon, and even though I can't go, we've got last year and year before, there was about 10 to 15 people doing it for my charity, say Aphasia.
Fantastic.
So that'd be quite good to get some fundraising, so that we can still got some money to do it for the charity.
Excellent.
And what we decided that this year, it was going to be February, but the February the lockdown is still not right. But we think it's going to be in June.
Okay.
Hopefully we can run again. And we decided there's going to be trying to get 50 runners to do the Say Aphasia. I've got about three people at the moment, so I'm trying to get some more people to run. But because I think it's good, because if I've got 50 people at the company, I've got more. The charity is 50 people. Then I can have our own. I've got a little tent. So rather than having, we can. It means that when it's finished, rather than going back home, they can sit and relax and make, say hello before they go. So my charity is getting seems to be thriving, and doing things like fundraising and stuff like that is a good thing to do.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But the other thing that I was going to say, just in terms of the hobbies that people have. Mine is football.
Oh.
When I first had my stroke, after I had the first football match, I couldn't get any words right at all. But it was just amazing, because the atmosphere in Brighton for the football is amazing, and the chants is amazing, and it's so many people who are doing the chants. It doesn't matter what I would want to say, because I would say it's so loud that I'll be going, not getting any of the word right, but just chanting with everyone else. And it was, again, forget about my brain injury, but going to the football, having a beer and chanting and having the football, you forget about the injury. So for me, running and football has been a good for me. And we have conversations with other people in the dropping groups and see what they do to forget about life, and you're not you can't be normal, but you can something you can do that you can forget about it.
I think that's a brilliant message there.
Well, the dropping group that we do, we normally we're just talking, but also one of the dropping groups every month we do art, and also every month do singing. So again, they can absorb about doing art, even though they might be half paralysed. They do art and they forget about life and doing the little thing. And also doing singing. It's just it's always a bit of a laugh. But some of it's amazing that the brain is very complicated in terms of, some people can get the words out for singing, but when they can't, but then normal, just then having conversations, they can't get the words out. So it's very English, a very complicated brain that we have.
Well, that just sounds, all those things you've mentioned there, and definitely can see the Brighton and Hove Albion flag hanging proudly behind you. But getting to, like you said, that key message there, I think it's really important, mainly for our students and our listeners, is that what you said there is like doing your running or the artwork or singing was just, or watching the football and being part of the crowd, helped you to kind of forget the process of what you were dealing with, and it was kind of an escape mechanism which we're trying to throughout this lockdown is encourage people to kind of get away from their screens a bit, and whatever activity it is they can do to keep themselves motivated is kind of key right now. And kind of that moves us nicely into my last kind of real question before we do kind of a quick fire round is from your experiences and the kind of the challenges you've faced, not only running through the desert, but obviously learning to get your language back and communicate. Have you got any advice that you would maybe give to somebody that feels they're facing their own personal challenge? Like what can they do to kind of overcome that or handle it in a better way? Because it seems that you have had a really positive and fantastic approach to, dealing with not only aphasia, but also the challenges that you set yourself with running a desert marathon.
Yeah. I think I think everybody just to be positive. People talking about we've got the virus and all that sort of stuff. Very frustration or sad or lonely or there's loads of things that you think, oh my God, we don't. What am I doing now? And I think you just think about all the things that you can do. Not things that we can't. And I do have the conversation with the dropping groups. There's a lot of things we can't do. There's nothing we can do about it. So rather than sort of sitting there wallowing about this, do all the things that you can do, because there's loads of people that I know that have a stroke and aphasia. They might be half paralysed. They might have a wheelchair. They don't have lots of friends or whatever. There are loads of things that we can do, and it's quite interesting. A lot of people, what we do Zoom, and it was quite good because after the lockdown, a lot of people who are talking quite a lot. Doing dropping groups or going to friends and family, lotting
the drop
that word. They a lot of people who have aphasia, their speech is getting worse, not better. So we do the Zoom just to talk, so that we've got some interaction. And I think it's not people who have aphasia. I think when they got the lockdown, everybody needs to be the same. There's lots of different ways that we can do now with Zoom or WhatsApp or all that sort of stuff, and be positive and do all the things that we can do, and all of the things that we're going to do soon and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm just very positive.
I definitely think that's a great one there, in terms of basically be positive about the things you can do rather than worrying about what you can't. And it's almost a saying that a lot of my students have heard, is that we control what we can control and we kind of let everything else go. So thank you so much, first of all, for sharing.
I was just going to say, if people, if students or people who are getting frustrating, our particular in Brighton, they say we've locked down and you have to be in you need to in their house. But you can have a walk, and everybody needs to be exercising, and even do exercises in your house. Or having a walk, having a run. There's lots of things that we can do even when we got the lockdown. So if we're getting a bit kind of frustrating because in that house and you're getting a bit claustrophobia, then go outside, have a walk, fresh air, exercise, and you have to do it. So yeah, sorry.
No, definitely. That's no, it's a perfect way for us to kind of round this up before we just do a new addition to our podcast episodes, which is just a quick fire round, which is kind of like the first kind of thing that comes into your head when I give you the question. So we'll give this a go. If I said to you, what would be your favourite food?
I would say a good fillet steak, I think.
Oh, fantastic. Love a good steak. An interesting fact about yourself.
Interesting fact. My interesting fact. That's that word. I can see my words is getting worse. Getting the words right.
You're doing a great job.
Interesting word is my charity. In the UK, we reckon there's 350,000 people that have aphasia.
Okay.
In the UK. There's a lot of people.
Yeah. So, well, you're doing a great job with your charity, and I really wish you the best of luck with it as it expands. Your favourite holiday destination?
I would say Scotland.
Scotland. Oh, there'll be a lot of listeners that like that, especially Mr. Erskine, who edits these podcasts, because he is Scottish.
That's good. I've had lots of holidays before, and I've gone, but going flying now, very scary. Very claustrophobia.
Yeah.
So we can, but if anybody was going to, our family was going to go have a little holiday, I'll just say no. Let's go to Scotland.
Oh, fantastic! Do you have a favourite gadget?
Probably the best gadget that I had is the voice recognition from my iPad and my iPhone. Yeah. I'm very lucky that I can do this. Otherwise, there's so many things I wouldn't have been able to do. Doing emails, text, it does it for me. Okay. And if my voice recognition wasn't happening, then there's a lot of things I wouldn't be able to do.
Okay, interesting. Do you have a favourite book?
No, I used to do cryptic crosswords and books all the time before my stroke, but now I can't because I can't read and can't write.
Okay.
I think they used to do. You can do. Doing it in a iPad. They can do it for us. Yeah. For books. But I've tried. I can't focus.
Right.
About 2 minutes. I can talk about that. So yeah, I can't do books, I'm afraid.
Okay. So. No, that's a fair answer. The most famous person you've ever met?
Ever met?
Yeah.
Suggs.
Oh.
Do you know Suggs?
From Madness? A band, yeah. I remember
Madness.
them, but that'd be an interesting one for our listeners to try and find out who they are. If you were an animal, what one would you be?
Camel.
Ooh, I like that. I think that's probably one of the best answers we've had.
Desert runs, you see. Desert runs. I'm always last. The last people is the camel.
Camel, I like it.
I know the camel quite well. I'm quite happy. My next place is going to be camels, nice and hot.
And the last one, have you got the biggest life lesson that you could share with our listeners in under 60 seconds?
Well, I think again, what we used to talk about, just all the things that we can do, and not don't forget about all the things that we can't do. Be positive, and have lots of laughter as well. And if you can't get the right words right, then obviously you can do, you can sing as well. And I like the one. Always look on the bright side of life. So there you go.
That is probably, Colin, the most perfect way to finish off our podcast. Thank you so much for sitting down with me, obviously this evening for me, this morning for you, and sharing such an inspirational story. I do hope that all the people that listen to this episode will be motivated and inspired to overcome any obstacles that they feel are preventing them from achieving whatever it is they set out to do. But I think most importantly, taking your key message there at the end that we sang of always looking on the bright side of life. So thank you so much for joining me today for this episode.
All good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All good.
Right.